Thank you very much, councillors and members of senior staff, the clergy and the press. A warm welcome to you for Temora Shire Council's April meeting, and I declare it open and advise that this meeting is being recorded and will be placed on Temora Shire Council's webpage for public information. And we're all reminded today that whilst we're speaking, that we agree that our views and our comments are being recorded and published. And we're also reminded that if or when we're speaking, of course, to be respectful to others and use the appropriate language. Temora Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures during our council meeting. Councillors, we go on to our acknowledgement of country. As we begin our meeting today, Temora Shire councillors, our senior staff and I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of Temora Shire's land and waters, the Wiradjuri people. We pay our heartfelt respect to their elders, both past and present, acknowledging the role they have and will continue to play as members of our Temora Shire community, a special place we all proudly call home. Thank you, councillors. We now invite Pastor Patricia Morris, who is the priest of the King's Christian Church. Pastor Morris, it's a delight to have you back in the chamber, and if you'd lead us in our opening prayer, please. Thank you.
Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this region, for our great country of Australia, and for the freedom we have to meet and pray openly. We give you thanks and praise for the Easter season recently celebrated, which gave us the opportunity to remember afresh the great love that you have for all mankind, as we remember the death and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ, and how he suffered and offered himself as a sacrifice on our behalf. Our Lord Jesus Christ himself said, "Greater love has no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends." And next week we'll be commemorating Anzac Day, where we'll have the opportunity to give thanks for all who served in the defence of this country and those who have given their lives. As we remember these men and women who have served and continue to serve, we give thanks to you, gracious God, for their great sacrifices in conflict, for their courage and devotion, for the cause of peace and freedom. Let us never forget the cost of these privileges, for peace and freedom, which we now enjoy. We pray for those who will remember loved ones they lost. Please bring them peace and comfort at this time. As we remember these privileges, we give you thanks for our great nation, and we pray for our leaders and all those in authority, that they may serve our nation wisely and effectively. We also pray for our local community, especially our farming community, as they continue to work hard sowing crops and caring for livestock to provide us with food in the future. We thank you for our beautiful autumn weather, for the rain you have provided to prepare the ground for sowing. Thank you for our council staff and for everyone who works together to make this such a great community, for our emergency service workers, our community volunteers who together help make our Shire a great place to live. We thank you for our councillors and for their service to our Shire. And Father God, we ask for your blessing upon this meeting, that you give the wisdom needed to make wise decisions on behalf of our Shire residents. And we pray all this in the name of our Lord and Saviour, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for those beautiful words. Councillor Good, welcome. Thank you, Pastor Morris, very much indeed. Councillors, we now proceed to apologies, and thank you. And we have an apology from the Director of Environmental Services. There's no further apologies. Someone move that apology is approved, please. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Councillor Judd moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Any declaration of any interest, please, councillors, at this time? If not, let's proceed. We don't have a public presentation. Confirmation of the March minutes of Temora Shire Council. If someone that was present care to move that they be received as true and correct, please. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, seconded. Is that the look? Right. Councillor Reinhold moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, let's now proceed. Thank you, I beg your pardon. Councillors, need a motion, please, to formally adopt the extraordinary meeting of Temora Shire Council held on the 14th of April 2023. Councillor McLaren has moved that way. Seconded, Councillor Good. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. No matters arising, Mr. General Manager?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, let's now go to our business papers, the white pages, the minutes of the Youth Advisory Committee report on page 11. And I was the chairman. Is someone prepared to move that that report be received? Councillor Bushell, thank you. Seconder for the motion, the Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. For the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, any items out of the very busy youth report? If not, is someone prepared to move the report and recommendations, please? Councillor Bushell, you'll move that way. Councillor Good has seconded the motion. Is there further discussion? Pardon me. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Now, let's proceed over, councillors, to page 19, the minutes of the Street Lighting Committee for Temora Shire Council. And councillors, you have the report there and associated recommendations. You'll note that on page 29, the 4.3 was dealt with, and other items as listed. Councillor Judd was the nominated chairman of that committee. Councillor Judd.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move the report to receive.
Thank you. Don't forget microphones, councillors. Sorry. Councillor Judd.
I'll move that report be received.
Thank you. Seconder for the motion, please. Councillor Oliver. Thank you. Moved, seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillor Judd.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. As you can see, we tried to have a meeting, but our engineering manager at assets was booming in by Zoom and made it a bit more difficult, but we realised that we couldn't discuss a lot of things until we either developed a policy or had a night-time inspection. So that was the reason for probably the summary resolution on page 46. And so we have to go back and revisit a lot of these items in the next month or two and bring a report back to council then.
Thanks very much, Councillor Judd. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was observer at that meeting, and on page 30, I think the resolution was to install the chevron signage, not guideposts. It says guideposts in the resolution. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Oliver. Councillor Irvine.
Yeah, if I may, my understanding of that was that it was the guideposts had been installed as of now. They were in place. And I think it was just intended to leave them there and just do an assessment on the intersection.
Thank you. Well, councillors, you have the report. Councillor Judd.
I've got no further comment at this stage because it's been carried over, but I'll move the report be adopted.
Thank you. So Councillor Judd is moving that the report is adopted, seconded by Councillor Good. Moved and seconded. Discussion. Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question about the off-grid lighting. How the solar lighting, how does that compare to on-grid lighting these days? 'Cause I know we did, when I was on council last time, we put some at the truck stop there on the Area Park Road, but they didn't seem to be too particularly good at that stage.
Thank you, Councillor Good, the manager of engineering assets.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think you'll find that the technology's come a long way. A lot of the batteries are well concealed, and They're sort of somewhat vandal proof. We've got one solar light on the intersection of Joffrey Street and Chifley Street, and it's been there for close to 20 years. I think it's a real option for where there's no low voltage network existing. So short story is it's definitely something that I would like to explore. The only problem is if we go down that path, well then it's a new field or a new asset class that we take on. At the moment we have one street light and we have really nothing to do with street lighting. It's essential energy, but if we go down the solar path, we put a light in, we own it, we maintain it, we look after it.
Thank you. Further, Councillor Good.
I did notice though that the street lighting, the policy is that is a light approved by Essential Energy, so we may need to remove that if that's the case.
Thank you.
The current policy doesn't cater.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, let's go over to page 60, the minutes of the Assets and Operations Committee, and the Deputy Mayor is the Chairman. Thank you.
Move the report be received.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor has moved the report is received. Seconded, Councillor Good. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. The Deputy Mayor, do you have anything you wish to highlight in the report?
No, Mr Mayor, not at this stage.
Thank you. Councillors, you have the report there for you to consider. Someone prepared to move the adoption of the report and its recommendations, or is there an alternate? Councillor Good.
I move the adoption of the
Report and recommendations. Thank you. Councillor Good has moved that way. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Judd.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just disappointed with the comment from the previous Minister, Sam Faraway, on page 145 about our possible plans for a bypass and alternate route, and just notes that Transport at New South Wales advised him there was no formal plans to investigate or develop a heavy vehicle bypass in Temora. Very disappointing that Transport does not recognise that we've been working on this for 20 odd years, So I'm just disappointed to see that. It means we've still got a long way to go.
Thank you. Councillor Judd, yes, I think disappointment is probably an understatement, but certainly discussions have been held already with the member for Cootamundra in relation to your observations, so thank you. Councillor Judd. Councillor Judd.
Sorry.
Thank you. I go to Councillor Irvine.
Yeah, just in comment to Councillor Judd's remarks, I didn't read it that way. I was at the meeting with our member for Cootamundra, Steph Cook, and Steph said much the same. Put down a plan and I'll support it and go into bat for you. And I think Mr Faraway is probably just echoing the same type of things. There's onus on council to bring forward a plan, and once we've got something on paper, that might be, if he had said, if we'd put a plan in and then he had said that comment, you could call him to task over it, but I don't see that that's completely fair at this point in time.
Thanks, Councillor Irvine. Look, I agree with most of your comments, certainly what the member for Cootamundra indicated at the meeting, that we've got to land on a plan, but again, there's just no acknowledgement of previous advocacy and lobbying on this important issue over more than 2 decades. But thank you, Councillor Irvine. I go to Councillor Good. Discussion on the motion.
I've just got a comment. I'm a bit concerned that the new Treasurer, he's indicated that the budget will have to be cut, and that there'll be items that were previous on the budget that'll have to be cut up from the budget, and I'm just concerned that there may not be any money around for these sort of things for a period of time.
Thanks, Councillor Good. Yes, an important observation. However, I know no matter what, this council will continue to advocate and lobby for what we want and what we need, and hopefully we'll have more wins than losses. If there's no further discussion, councillors, I'll put the motion to you. That is to adopt the report and recommendations in the Assets and Operations Committee, moved by Councillor Good and seconded by the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very, very much. Councillors, we go over the page to 201, minutes of Council's Economic Development and Visitations Committee report. I was the acting chairman in the absence of Councillor McLaren, who was the regular chairman of that committee. And is someone prepared to move the report is received? Councillor McLaren.
I'll move that way.
Thank you. Councillor McLaren has moved that the report's received. Seconded Councillor Good. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you. Councillors, the report is there for you to consider and its associated recommendations. Someone prepared to move that those recommendations and the report be adopted? Councillor Bushell. Thank you very much. Councillor Good has seconded the motion. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. And declare the motion carried. Thank you very much, councillors. We go over to page 251, delegates' reports. Councillors, we have delegates' reports, please. I can kick you off while you're thinking. Just to advise Council that the REROC, we're currently negotiating with the long-serving CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of REROC, Mrs Julie Briggs, to extend her contract, of which is agreeable, but she has flagged, of course, and she's serious on this occasion, that then obviously the boards need to, or both RIVJO and REROC, to find a suitable successor in a certain period, and she'd be happy to be part of that process as well, if that was deemed appropriate. So I thought I would share that with you. Also, that the General Manager and I will be in Sydney for the Country Mayors Association meeting at Parliament House on 25th and 26th of May. And also some great news that all councillors, particularly in the Riverina, that we're going to have a rural health forum hosted in Wagga, the Wagga Base Hospital, in their fancy new conference room, which I haven't seen. So that's on the 16th of September, but you'll receive notices. But I just wanted to flag that with you, that is, of course, open to interested councillors as well. So that was what I wanted to share. Is there further delegates' reports? Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On Tuesday, I attended the Sister City Committee. Last year, 2 years ago, there was it was a 30-year anniversary. There was things planned, but and there was money in the budget to provide gifts, but for Zumazaki. But because of COVID, that didn't happen. So we're planning on a 35-year anniversary. We've chosen a couple of gifts that we're going to give to Azumazaki, and looking at maybe take a delegation over to Japan next year.
Very good, very active. Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillor Good is, of course, the chairman of our Sister City Committee, and thank you for reinvigorating that committee, Councillor Good. Further delegates' reports to go to the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. On the 5th of April, I attended a dinner put on by Local Land Services along with the General Manager and Director of Environmental Services. It was basically just to get to know the people behind it, seeing this Local Land Services. There was board members as well as staff members, and they covered quite an area, some from Griffith, and quite a big region. I think it was about 25 at the dinner, I suppose. So just to basically let the council know not so much council, but just who's involved in the organisation. You don't really hear much from them, know what they're doing. So hopefully we can have a bit more closer contact with them and get involved with because there's things like weed control and so forth like that hopefully they get some money for it. The council doesn't get much, so hopefully they do. So anyway, it's information.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Councillor Good.
I'll just probably like to add to that. I don't know whether it's the same dinner, but I noticed that there was a gathering with people involved in the rural area and Landcare during the week or last week. It might have been the week before. Anyway, the new head of Landcare is Turlag Eran. He's been from Temora.
Yeah, Landcare sort of involved LLS. They say they're two separate organisations, but I think they're pretty close somehow. I'm not sure how they really work.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Good. I met the gentleman that you just mentioned in Sydney. I think the general manager and I met him or reacquainted as I hadn't seen him for donkey's years, and his warm affection for Temora Shire is alive and well. So thanks very much. No further delegates' reports. Councillor Judd.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just report on 2 meetings at Erie Park yesterday. We had one at 9 o'clock in the morning, which was the Erie Park Community Engagement meeting. Engineering staff come out and talk to residents out there. The idea of the meeting is probably to short circuit a lot of the minor requests that have come in rather than send the thing into council. We'll talk to the engineers on the spot and have a look, and most times it can be fixed. And so that was good result. And last night, 7 o'clock, we had the second meeting for the Erie Park Sewerage Options meeting. The attendance is probably about half of what it was from the first meeting, but still a divergence of views. And anyway, we'll have a full report probably at the May meetings. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Judd. I now go to Councillor Reinhold.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On Tuesday night, the Women's Network Group had a function, a dinner, and we had a 2-course dinner supplied by the Filipino community in Temora. Our guest speaker was Irene Broad, and we had 60 people there, which was a good roll-up. Even though it was International Women's Day on the 8th of March, it was in the middle of the Drench program, so we thought, well, it's a busy enough time, we'll postpone it a little bit. So, we thought it might be part of the Embrace Temora, being a multicultural event. So we'd like to showcase the different cultures in our community and stand by for next year.
Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. It's great to hear that former Councillor Irene Broad was well received, and only talking to her the other night, and she certainly has achieved a heck of a lot in her time thus far. Thank you. Anything further, councillors, for delegates? If not, let's go over to page 252, the Mayor's report for the month of March, and there's a recommendation on page 255 that the Mayor's report is noted. Thank you, Councillor Good. There's moved that the recommendation, seconded Councillor Oliver. Thank you, moved. Seconded. Is there further discussion? There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, we now proceed to staff reports. A motion to receive those, please. Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillor was that the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, moved and second. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. We go to page 257, the General Manager's report, 12.1, the calendar of events. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, it's as written. The only thing I would ask, if on the 24th of May and the 20th of June we have two councillor training days, could you let us know by tomorrow whether you're attending, because we need to know whether we've got the numbers to go ahead with it.
Thank you. Councillors, also, so councillors, the walk and talk tour, at this point there's myself and Councillor Bushell that are able to be part of that. Is there any other councillor that's able to at this stage? I know it's, with sewing and everything, it's very full on. But anyway, at least we'll have two of us, and we can make an indent in that and furnish a report, pardon me, to council in due course. Anything further on calendar of events? If not, there's a recommendation that the calendar of events be noted. Thank you, Councillor Good. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Pardon me, I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, let's go over to page 258. Pardon me, 12.2, draft events donation policy, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this policy was put out for public submission. There was one submission received, as you can see, from the Temora Christian leaders. Minor changes. The first one is that the Carols by Candlelight has actually been rebadged as Carols in the Park, so we can make that change easily. The second one, which is a combined church service event and Palm Sunday, they don't request any support from us for those, so there's probably no need for that to go in. But the other changes are the Mary Gilmore Festival has now gone into recess, so we'll take that one out. And Bikers for Boobs doesn't exist anymore, it's a new organisation.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillor Irvine.
Only early days, but I think the Bikers for Boob rally is going to just reform and be more broad in its giving. It'll just be more a Can Assist overall cancer fundraiser. So they've got a committee and they met last night that I'm aware of. I've got nothing to do with it, but it's just through a mutual contact that mentioned that to me today. So I'd expect it might be worthwhile to leave that slot and just wait for the approach from that committee. It'd be my recommendation.
Thank you. I've also had communication with one of the organisers, Miss Nielsen, the Temora Ribbon Run, of course, and they've met, I think, the second time now and had a really good roll-up, evidently, last night. But I don't think, Mr General Manager, we've had a request as yet.
We haven't, but we could easily change Bikers for Boobs to something like a cancer ride or something like that, something generic, and then when they do make the application, we'll be able to backfill that.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I think they have actually come up with a name.
Yeah, they have, the Temora Ribbon Run.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah, what we haven't seen as yet is things like insurance and
yeah. Okay, Councillor Good.
I'd like to move that we change the Bikers for Boobs to Cancer Ride.
And include the amendment of the Carols in the Park.
Yes, thank you.
And Mary Gilmore deleted. Yep,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Councillor Good, seconder for the motion, please. The Deputy Mayor, thank you. Moved, seconded. Further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, over to page 266, 12.3, Mary Gilmore Festival, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As you can see, councillors, sadly the Mary Gilmore Festival has resolved to be discontinued as a committee. What they're suggesting there is they have funds at the moment in the range of about, it's still to be finalised, but around that $33,000, $34,000 mark. Seeing as though the money was raised within the area park community, they've requested, and it was for the area park community, they've requested that $15,000 of that money be placed in a trust held by council for a period of at least 5 years, just in the off chance that there is someone decides to come forward with a similar event and wants to kick it off again. And then the remaining funds, they've put 3 projects there that they wish to support. So my recommendation there is that we acknowledge the Festival Committee as discontinued operations and disband it. We hold the $15,000 of the funds in accordance with an MOU, which the sort of terms there, it's got to be rewritten, but the terms are the same. And we develop an MOU, which has got those terms in it, and finally provide approval for the remaining liquidated funds to be applied against the Mary Gilmore, by the Mary Gilmore Festival for the projects that are outlined.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. So just for clarity, that those projects that are listed on page 268 from the committee, they would all come out of those funds that they have?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. I'll probably suggest that it be made very clear that the total funds, that council is not committing anything to that the funds will have to cover that work.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Councillor Judd.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just declare I'm the council representative on that committee, but it's a 355 committee. Yeah, it's a sad day when one of your committees sort of fails, but one of our members did a bit of a survey on around Area Park community, and there was still a lot of people interested in seeing the committee keep going, but when pushed about, are you willing to work and be on the committee? No, too busy, so unfortunately it's going the way of a lot of committees these days, and so I'm hoping that next generation might come through and come up with an idea for weekends or festivals. And that's why the idea of trying to keep some money there as a bankroll the next one. Even the Mary Gilmore Festival, like at the end, it was costing over $20,000 to run it each year, and you sort of got to find the money coming in. And it gets very expensive to run these days, and we got told, we should get more top line acts, but top line acts cost you $20,000-$30,000 to get them. So it's all right if you're guaranteed you're going to get a response to cover it, but there's no guarantee. So anyway, it's I'm sad about it, but because I actually called the first public meeting to get it going. So anyway, these time rolls on and we can just move on. So anyway, good. I'm glad that we can make some use of the money anyway.
Thanks, Councillor Judd, and yes, we acknowledge you as the instigator and a past president, and still involved to this day. And I can only imagine, I can only imagine it's like the gift. I was president of the gift committee, and when it folded, there's just a little touch of sadness there. But again, there's memories that no one can take away from us. That's for sure. Well, councillors, you see the recommendation there, and plus the comments that the General Manager made about, no cost to council, those other items, which I'm sure that was the intent of the committee anyway. Councillor Good, you're happy to move that way with that inclusion in there? Mr General Manager, no cost to council?
Yeah, we can add that.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Moved and seconded. Discussion? There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. For the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. And again, Council pays warm tribute to Councillor Judd and every single committee member, past and present, for their hard work. Pardon me, councillors, page 272, 12.4, the operational plan review, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, it is as presented. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillors, you have the review there. Is there any comments, questions? If not, there is a recommendation on page 272 that the review for quarter 3 be noted. Councillor Bushell, you're prepared to move that motion. Second for the motion, Councillor Oliver. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Discussion. Discussion, Councillor McLaren.
Just a comment on page 289, the establishment of the U3A campus in Temora. Just a shout out to the General Manager on his great work in getting that off the ground. It's due to commence on the 1st of July, which is great.
No, that's. I think we'd all in the chamber echo those comments, Councillor McLaren, and well done to the General Manager and all involved. I've heard some very good things so far. Well, if there's no further discussion, councillors, I'll put the motion to you, and that is that the operational plan for quarter 3 be noted. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Now, page 358. Oh, sorry, Mr. General Manager, is there anything of an urgent late nature?
Nothing further.
Thank you. Now we go to page 358, the Engineering Services Department report. 13.1, the New South Wales Roads Congress for 2023, and that report is in the hands of the Engineering Works Manager. Mr. Manager.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. After receiving correspondence on the upcoming New South Wales Road Congress for 2023, early bird prices finish on the 5th of May. So I just wanted to present this to the current council meeting to see if a resolution to send either an engineering manager or a councillor to attend could meet those early bird prices to save a bit of money. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good to see you trying to save $1 or $2. Now, councillors, we normally, or in recent years, we've sent Councillor Judd. I remember going to one or a couple of them early in the piece, but Councillor Judd, you traditionally have been our delegate. Does it interest you at this time, or would you like to seek another councillor to attend if possible? Sorry, Mr. Manager. Thank you. Councillor Judd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm interested in going, but if any other councillor wants to go this time, I'm willing to stand aside, but I am available, that's all.
Yeah, well, thank you, Councillor Judd. I'm not sure you've got opposition there, but thank you very much for the genuine offer to stand aside. And if the councillor happens to reflect and think that you would like to go, well, please reach out. But for the purposes of the meeting, Councillor Judd, you'd accept nomination together, of course, with our Engineering Works Manager.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It's a nuisance again this year because we got committee day the following day and you have to rush back, and that's, yeah. But we have to cope with these things.
Exactly. Thank you. Well, councillors, Councillor Bushell, are you happy to move that we send Councillor Judd and the Engineering Works Manager to the 2023 New South Wales Roads Congress? Moving that way. Second to Councillor Good. Thank you. Moved. Second. Is there further discussion? There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Anything from our engineering managers of a late urgent nature?
No.
No holiday slides or no? Mr. Manager?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Not necessarily urgent, but I just wanted to note for councillors, the local emergency management committee minutes were posted on the hub yesterday. They're not reports that come through the council meeting, but I just wanted to note that they were placed on there. And there's a couple of items that might be of interest, in particular, the updated version of the Temora Emergency Management Plan. That was one of the reports within there. That's a document that goes on council's website. So if there's any comment in relation to that outside of the council meeting, happy to field any questions if necessary. The only other one to note, I'm not sure if councillors are aware that the police inspector that was covering Temora, in Inspector Andrew Robovich, is moved back to Sydney, so there's currently an acting inspector in that capacity covering Temora at the minute, and hopefully an appointment will happen in coming weeks. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. If there's nothing urgent, late nature from engineering services, let's now go to page 361, Environmental Services Department Report. 14.1, Investigation of Proposed Section 7.11 Developer Contributions Plan, and the Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report was in response to our request to investigate the possibility of having a Section 11 Developer Contributions Plan. So I've provided some information about our current situation, a comparison of how the two different kinds of plans work. There's a discussion there and then a recommendation for council to consider. So for council's consideration at this time.
Thank you, Madam Acting Director. Councillors, you have the report, and again we thank the Acting Director and the Director and the Department for that thorough report for Council to consider. Councillor Bushell.
I'd like to move the recommendation, thank you.
Thank you. So Councillor Bushell is moving the recommendation. And for those listening, the recommendation is that Council retain the current Section 7.12 Development Contributions Plan and review the plan in 2024. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Deputy Mayor, thank you, Councillor Sinclair. Moved, seconded. Is there further discussion? Further discussion? Yeah. Councillor Good.
I'm keen on the voluntary planning agreement, or the in relation to rezoning. There are some rezoning areas that we're looking at rezoning in the future. I think that definitely we should look at that prior in relation to any discussions of rezoning land in Temora. As we know, there's some substantial land that's being developed to the northeast, and parkland there would be very beneficial for the residents who are moving there.
Thanks, Councillor Good. Go to Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I have been in favour of a 711 purely because the opportunity to negotiate with a developer on a large scale area, it's easier to set aside a parcel of land at that stage of the development for a public open space than to wait for it all to be divided up and lotted and then save up your 712 contributions and then go back and say, oh, we need a park here. So, but I accept that it may be administratively more difficult. But the difficulty I have with the 712 is that the financial discipline to set aside funds to save up for any future land acquisition to cater for public open space, we tend to use it in our budget as we go along. So I'm happy to retain a 712 with the amendment, with the addition to that 25% of 712 contributions be reserved for the provision of public open space. So I'm quite happy to have the 712, but if we could set aside 25% of it over time, it reserves a bit if we ever have to in the future negotiate with a landholder to create public open space. We'll have a bank of funds there ready to go, and any future council would have that opportunity to enact that, because I can't see land being acquired out of our normal budgetary process having the priority to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. I go to Councillor Bushell and discussion on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's in the recommendation anyway to review the plan in 2024, so those considerations of the 25% that you comment on can be achieved. It's just that we have to keep it in the memory bank. I just don't think it needs to be in a recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor Bushell. And of course, it's open to council if they wish to move an amendment, of course, but I know Councillor McLaren was talking about including that potentially in the motion, and the mover, of course, has indicated that you don't wish to, and I'm assuming the Deputy Mayor is a seconder. Yeah, thank you. So further discussion on the motion before us, councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I presume that the discussion by councillor McLaren included an amendment motion. Is that correct?
Sorry, councillor Good, what was that?
I thought that in her what she said, she moved an amendment.
No, that's not how I took
Okay,
it.
I would move that amendment then.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So councillor Good, you're moving an amendment to the motion that council retain the current section 7.12 development contributions plan and that 25% of those contributions be ring fenced for open spaces in Temora Shire,
That's correct, yes.
and further that the plan be reviewed in 2024.
Yes, that's correct,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. Seconded, councillor McLaren. Thank you. Moved and seconded as the amendment. Discussion. I'm going to go to, if councillor Good, you finished?
No.
Oh, sorry.
I want to talk on the
Councillor
motion
Good,
as
while you're
well.
on a roll.
Yes. I think it's good that it's ring fenced. I agree that the money does seem to go into our general budget and be used for a lot of, and we use it up when it comes, not necessarily when it comes in, but we use it up. And looking at our any proposed subdivisions that are going to occur, there's a lot of areas around, and we did discuss this at the time, there's a lot of areas that have a lot of small little blocks, and so there may not be the provision for a large-scale developer to provide a large block themselves. It may need to be made up from various different lots, various different owners. And so I think by ring fencing 25%, it will have it available. And then when we do look at rezoning, then we can, we will have that available.
Thank you, councillor Good. We go to councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So we have more questions on that amendment. Is that where I'm at?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to know whether that affects the budget if we change the policy.
Thank
now.
you,
Thank you.
councillor Bushell. Question to the Director of Administration and Finance. The Acting Director of Environmental Services.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So currently in our developer contributions plan, our 7-12 plan, we have already nominated projects and budgeted for them, and we are currently collecting funds for them. And so I would think that if council wished to add in an additional project, which is to collect 25% of funding towards open space, we would need to put that plan out on public exhibition again before we could actually include that, because that's the process to amend a plan. We have to put a project in there, put it on exhibition, and then adopt it, which the intention is that we look at doing that in 2024 anyway, which was my recommendation. But at that time, we would also have some more information about forthcoming planning proposal that affects the land that is currently of interest to council, emerging residential areas that are coming to Temora Shire.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that to the chamber. Now, further discussion. We have, of course, a motion to adopt the recommendation on page 364, and there is an amendment. I'm going to councillor Irvine.
I'm happy enough with the recommendation because it doesn't prevent the introduction of a 7-Eleven in the future if we get a specific development that requires specific infrastructure to be built to facilitate that particular development. Then we can look at it there and then, and if it incurs a fee to set that up, so be it. If we were approached for some form of goods loading facility that needed infrastructure built for it or whatever it might be, So I think the 7-Eleven is an ideal vehicle when you have to have specific expenditure relative to a specific development, and in that particular instance, it may be unfair to expect that to come out of the contributions from the general pool. So I'm happy to see that the recommendation basically doesn't exclude council considering 7-Elevens if particular developments require it. And I can understand Councillor Good and Councillor McLaren's wishes to have some funding ring-fenced out of the 712s, and I do acknowledge the facts put forward by Mrs Golder in relation to the current process there. So, yeah, I just wanted to basically just point out that, you know, any time we need a 7-Eleven, it's on the table and we can do it. There's going to be costs associated, but if it's going to be a big project and it needs to be done that way, well, so be it. So I'm happy enough to support
The original motion.
the recommendation.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Irvine. Go to Councillor McLaren.
I think you can have a 7-Eleven in conjunction with the 712, so, but I do acknowledge any budgetary impacts. So it may potentially have to be commenced at the end of this budgetary period with, you know, with the view to ring fencing this for future.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. Now, did the Acting Director of Environmental Services have any comment? Because we will conclude the debate on this matter.
I've got, no further comments at this time.
Thank you. Councillors, you have the motion and amendment. We'll consider the amendment first, which is, I'll read it for Council. On the motion of Councillor Good and Councillor McLaren, that Council retain the current Section 7.12 Development Contributions Plan, and further, that 25% of those contributions be set aside for the acquisition of open spaces and review the plan in 2024. So I'll put the amendment. Councillor McLaren, you happy? Or you not?
I was going to say that 25% of contributions be set aside for the from 2024. From 2024. Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Following the review, the 2024 review.
Yes, so foreshadowing that when it is reviewed, that we aim to set aside 25% of it.
So is it saying you're aiming, or that the contributions be set aside?
That they be set aside following the review of 2024.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Councillor McLaren. Councillor Good, are you happy? Okay, so councillors, I'll just read that again because this is an important discussions that we're having. The amendment that we'll be putting to the vote first is, the original motion is from Councillor Bushell and the Deputy Mayor that Council retain the current Section 7.12 Development Contributions Plan and review the plan in 2024. Then we have an amendment from Councillor Good and Councillor McLaren that Council retain the current Section 7.12 Development Contributions Plan, and further that 25% of those contributions be set aside following the 2024 review of the plan for the acquisition of open spaces. So councillors, I'm going to put the amendment to you. All those of that opinion, please raise your hands. To the contrary, I declare the amendment 1. The amendment now becomes the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, let's go to page 365, 14.2, Development Application, the Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So this development application is for alterations and additions to the Westminster Hotel. As councillors will be aware, an iconic historic building in Temora. So the application is there for council's consideration.
Thank you, Madam Acting Director. And how exciting, the first Mayor of the Temora Council, Mr Edwin Gardner, of course being the original owner, and to see the plans today, I think he'd be looking over us and be mighty proud and excited about what's before us. Let's go to Councillor Irvine.
This is a really exciting and a fantastic, really high quality development. It's a a huge commitment on behalf of the developers, and it really is just a real pigeon factory at the moment, and it'd be just wonderful to see the finish that I'm really confident that this group of investors will bring to this building. They've got the capabilities and they've got the design skills runs on the board. The major concern I've got is the insistence that the Heritage Advisor has put on clause 36, veranda posts facing Hoskin Street shall be of timber construction, suitably sealed and painted. Now, timber veranda posts were traditionally used in buildings of this type because they were readily available and cheap for no other reason. Steel in an SHS type of form wasn't available at that point in time. There used to be wrought iron and stuff like that, but steel and certainly RHS and SHS wasn't available at that period of time, that point in time. So to insist that the building be rebuilt using timber, which is a difficult process nowadays. Timber itself is in severe shortage, and timber of that size and of the varieties required to do these type of jobs are very, very expensive compared to steel. So, and the timber, even once it's painted and it's got its decorative mouldings on it, the steel or the timber, it's very difficult to differentiate. So I think it's unfair to put the additional costs, the additional maintenance on these developers. They're obviously being extremely sympathetic to the building and they're doing their absolute best to present a very high quality development. And further, if anybody has the opportunity and they're in West Wyalong in the near future, I want you to go and make a point of looking at the timber veranda posts that are at the White Tank Hotel, and the softwood timber mouldings have got significant water ingress and they're starting to break down and fall on the ground. Now, these have been replaced in the last 6 or 7 years. So the timbers that people are using for these applications now just aren't up to it. Back in the day, when these originally were built, people had access to Oregons and cedars and stuff like that because that's what was getting milled out of the south coast and was readily available. But those timbers are just not existent. They're impossible to source now at huge cost. Now, there's a veranda reinstatement that's been done at Tom, Dick and Harry's, and it spreads around to the Southwest Slopes Credit Union at West Wyalong. And there's been timber used in that. Now, it's falling off. Water has got into it already, and this is a rebuild that was done, like from scratch, a reinstatement that was done from scratch within the last 5 to 6 years. And the owners have been faithful, they've used timber, it would have come at great expense, and now it's breaking down and they've got the additional issue of the maintenance costs, the repair, and I just think it's completely unfair that these people are having these conditions put in front of them. Steel, to my mind and to my experience, is going to be a cheaper, stronger, more true product to work with. And I think from the perspective of affecting the development, I think it's going to be absolutely unrecognisable as to the difference. So I really would like to see that clause removed. And other than that, I thoroughly support the DA.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. Does the Acting Director have any comment in response, please?
So the applicant has agreed to this condition. I do agree that the original application did include steel posts. It was the preference of the Heritage Advisor to include timber posts, and the applicant has agreed. The applicant is interested in, as a result of that choice, making use of Council's assistance policy for reinstatement of verandas, and that would only be possible if it was a timber veranda. But I can certainly pass on the concerns raised by Councillor Irvine to the applicant, and if they wished to change their mind and seek a variation to their consent, that would be quite within their rights to seek to vary the condition if, for whatever reason, it became unsuitable to use timber.
Thank you. But the applicant though has agreed with.
Yes, at this point, they have agreed that they will use timber.
Thank you. They weren't reluctant, or they.
No, they weren't reluctant. They were happy to choose that. But as I said, it hasn't started construction yet. So, and the applicant can come to council if, for whatever reason, there's a condition that becomes unworkable, and seek a modification to their consent, and council officers can consider that.
Thank you very much. I'll go to Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm on the Heritage Committee, which David Scobie's he's the heritage architect that turns up there, and he quite often talks about this progressive consequential collapse. And what that is that if you build things in steel and you weld them together, if someone runs into the fence, into the post, because it's all welded together, it pulls the whole structure down. Whereas if it's wood and they run into the wood post snaps, but the rest of the structural integrity remains. And so that's why he's a big believer in using timber on verandas on the road.
Thanks, Councillor Good. We're always learning, councillors, and I think that's very interesting. Thank you. Councillor Irvine.
Yeah, like I say, there's a fair reason why most of the big structures are getting built out of steel these days, and it's because it's cheapest and strongest. It's easy to design in frangible posts and all the rest of it and have that same ability built into a steel structure as it is into a timber structure if you want to engineer it that way. So I don't really agree with Mr Scobie's assertion in relation to that. And also, we've got stuff that's been engineered by designed by Mr Scobie, not engineered by Mr Scobie in town, that are causing us some maintenance issues that probably shouldn't be there. And one of the most obvious examples is the portico out the front of the NRCC house. Now, that's only been there for 20 years, and it's already been completely reclad once. Now, the reason why that occurred, that failure, is because Mr Scobie's selected a non-flexible surface treatment, which is CFC, or compressed fibro cement sheeting. Now, it doesn't stretch and it doesn't flex. And he's put that over the top of a steel frame, which is quite dynamic. Now, consequently, the frame grows and shrinks in temperature variation, and it cracks the concrete sheet. Now, it's been fully reclad once, and there's multiple cracks in the existing in the new reclad now. So, like I say, I think I take on board Mr Scobie's advice, and I appreciate his input into these matters, but I do wonder sometimes as to the intent, or whether he may be qualified to do some of these things. Like
Councillor Irvine, thank you. There's other speakers that haven't spoken yet.
To follow on from that, Mr Scobie specified a paint coating for all of our outdoor furniture. Now, if you actually read the tech data sheet on that paint coating, and it's Galmet, it's for trailers and things like that are just knock-around things, and it's a hammer tone finish. And it specifically says on the tech data sheet not to be used for architectural finishes. Now, the reason being it breaks down every 5 years and it needs recoating. So that's a cost that we've got to bear due to that selection. Now, in anything I'm doing now, I've chosen an alternative that looks the same but provides much better service life. And I think those things need to be considered, particularly for this type of process.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. We'll go to Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We'll just retrack back to report 14.2, and I'd like to move the recommendation. Thank you.
So, Councillor Bushell, you're moving the recommendation on page 382 that Council approve development application 13-2023, demolition works, alterations and additions to existing hotel and lot consolidation, subject to the conditions. Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? I go to Councillor McLaren.
I just had a question about the operating hours, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. till midnight, and Sunday 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And it's a little bit wider than a lot of other hotels operating in town, and I'm just wondering whether that's something council's happy with Monday through Saturday to midnight, or just Thursday, Friday, Saturday? I wasn't sure. I just wanted to raise that issue.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. I must admit I had that circled as well to inquire. So if I can ask Councillor Irvine if you would mind turning that off while Councillor Good, thank you. Councillor Good, you have a response?
Those are the standard hours for a liquor licence.
Standard hours,
Standard
are they?
hours.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. I wasn't aware of
Yeah,
that.
no, thanks very much. And that's what this is about, teasing out those issues. So further discussion on the motion, Councillor Irvine?
Just to clarify, so the Acting Director of Environmental Services has given undertaking that you will contact Mr Keith with the possibility that he may consider using steel posts if financially and structurally preferable.
Well, thank you, Councillor Irvine. I would have thought if this motion gets up, that's it. I don't think, Madam Director, with Acting Director, that, is that appropriate or not?
Well, I'm not going to be telling the applicant what I think he should or shouldn't do. He'll have a consent in place if this goes through. I can advise the applicant there was a discussion at the council meeting that's being recorded. It's in the public domain that there was a discussion, and then he can make up his own mind if he wishes to modify or seek a modification of any condition that's imposed. And then he can discuss that with council if he feels it's necessary.
Thank you, Madam Director. Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. One more comment. Every development application that any councils issue, they have the standard approach from the legislative document that says that you can review, modify or whatnot. Everyone gets that. So everyone has that chance. Yeah. And I've got to leave. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bushell. Councillor Bushell has other commitments that she has to tend to, so thank you, Councillor Bushell. Councillor Irvine, this will be concluding the debate.
Well, I just want to make it clear, though, that everyone is aware that the response from the applicant in relation to that requirement is that supportive of timber posts with grant incentives. So there's been no value placed on that, and that is part of the conditions that we're agreeing to. So we're basically agreeing that we're giving grants in relation to that.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm the Acting Director.
So the applicant will need to make an application to council in order to secure that fund.
Through the Heritage
Through
Committee.
the Heritage Committee. So that will come before the Heritage Committee and to council, and then it will be up to council then to determine if they support that application.
Thank you very much. Councillor Judd.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm in support of the motion, but I'll just follow on Councillor Irvine's earlier remarks about congratulating the developer on what they're going to do here. Council might remember some time ago I moved a motion about developing the southern end of Hoskin Street, and I think we were anxiously waiting for this development to come, and I think once this happened, other things might happen in that block as well, so well done. And congratulations.
Thanks very much, Councillor Judd. Councillors, that concludes the debate. We'll now put the motion to you, and of course that is the recommendation, page 382, that we approve the DA and associated conditions. Now, being this is a DA, we need to have votes recorded, so all those of that opinion, please raise your hands. So carried unanimously. Thank you. Very exciting, as Councillor Judd and Councillor Irvine and others have said as well, that this is exciting, and we're deeply grateful that local family, the Keith family, long strong roots, of course, in Temora Shire, believe in their hometown to invest significantly in this historic establishment. So that's fantastic news. So thank you, councillors. Anything of an urgent late nature from the Acting Director of Environmental Services?
No, Mr Mayor.
No, thank you very much. Councillors, we go over to page 385, the Administration and Finance Department report, and we have Neil, the Director.
That's correct, Mr Mayor.
They've been working very, very hard on the Budget Council. Next month's their month for lots of in-depth reports. So thank you very much, Madam Director. Councillors, let's go over to page 386, correspondence, 16.1, Lakes and Tenery, the General Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. As you can see, the Department of Regional New South Wales Fisheries and Aquaculture Management are seeking to use Lakes and Tenery for a tri-fishing day. This has the full support of the Lakes and Tenery Management Committee for Council's decision.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll move that we accede to their request.
Thank you. Councillor Oliver is moving that we accede to the request. Seconded the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Is there further discussion? Further discussion, Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just hope somebody tells the fish that they that they've got to cooperate, because every time I try fishing I don't seem to have a lot of luck. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Duly noted. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. If there's no further discussion, we'll put the motion to. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Mr General Manager, is there any urgent late items of correspondence, please?
No, Mr Mayor.
No, thank you very much. Councillors, over to page 389. We haven't received any business with notice. We haven't received any notices of motion. Are there any urgent items of business without notice? No. If not, thank you very much, councillors. We go now over to page 390, the councillors' information paper. Is someone moved that the information paper is received? Thank you, Councillor Good. Seconded, Councillor Irvine. Is that a hand? Thank you, Councillor Irvine. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, any items of the information paper that you'd like to tease out? Councillor Judd.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I congratulate our Engineering Works Manager on the report going to the IPPOT conference. When he was talking about some a few weeks ago, I said, don't make the report too long, otherwise no one will read it. So I'm glad I took my advice, and he's got an executive summary there for people to read the highlights of it. So,
No, thanks, Councillor Judd. And yes, it was a heck of a lot of work went into it, and we do thank the Engineering Works Manager for that. Any other items, councillors, the information paper? If not, in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act 1993, advise that there are several matters that are deemed confidential and accordingly require a motion to have those matters considered by Council. Motion, please, to go into closed session. Councillor Reinhold, Councillor Good. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Thank you. The recording has commenced. We are back in open council. And councillors, I advise that the following motions have been brought forward from closed session into open session. The motion of Councillor Reinhold and Councillor Good. Council resolved to move into confidential session at 5:13 p.m. and the motion was carried. The Director of Administration and Finance declared a pecuniary interest in relation to item REP 23-467 5.2 due to a staff member being her brother-in-law. The Director left the chamber at 5:15 p.m. and took no further part in discussion. Minutes of the Assets and Operations Committee meeting held on the 11th of April 2023 on the motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair and Councillor Good. It was resolved that the reports be received and the motion was carried. On the motion of Councillor Good and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, it was resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted and the motion was carried. The Director of Administration and Finance returned to the chamber at 5:24 p.m. The minutes of the Economic Development Committee held on the 11th of March 2023 on the motion of Councillor McLaren and Councillor Good, it was resolved that the reports be received and the motion was carried. On the motion of Councillor Oliver and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, it was resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted, and the motion was carried. General Manager's annual briefing session for councillors on April 2023, and the motion of Councillor Judd and Councillor Oliver. It was resolved that the General Manager's briefing session report be noted, and the motion was carried. Temora Lions Club tendered to supply and install new baling equipment at depot. On the motion of Councillor Good and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, it was resolved that 1. Council confirms to the satisfaction of Council and its legal representatives that the ownership of the recycling facility and all equipment, including the press, reverts to the ownership of Temora Shire Council should Lions Club Temora cease to operate, and further, the Temora Shire Council enter into an agreement to purchase purchase the supply and install of the HB 100-MT from Australian Bale Press Proprietary Limited for an amount of $233,000 exclusive of GST, and the motion was carried. The Temora Agriculture Innovation Centre confidential update of April 2023, on the motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair and Councillor Good, it was resolved that Council note the report. The motion was carried. Councillor Reinhold and Councillor Judd moved that Council proceeds from, moves the motions from closed session into open, and the motion was carried. On the motion of the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Reinhold, it was resolved that Council moves out of closed session into open at 5:44 p.m, and the motion was carried. Now, could I have a motion, please, to formally adopt those resolutions in open council? Thank you, Councillor Good. Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Councillors, I thank you very, very much. If there's no further business before council, I do thank you very, very much. We've, pardon me, achieved a lot, and I declare the meeting closed.